Hi guys, it's Aoife from Fred We See Died Laughing, and I'm here with another weekly wrap up. So I got a good few books read and a few an audiobook finished that I was reading over the last couple of weeks, and I will tell you all about them now. So obviously the first book that I did finish was The Last Horseman by Gilman, which I told you guys about last week, and obviously I won't tell you too much about what I thought of that because my review is going up later in the week, but I will say that I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars and I did enjoy it. I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would enjoy it, and I ended up learning a load of different things that I never knew about the Boer War, and particularly the Irish in the Boer War. So I really enjoyed that, and I will tell you all my other thoughts about that on Thursday. The next book that I read was my TBR jar pick for July, I think it was, and that's I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This is about a pair of twins, Jude and Noah, and it's kind of told through different periods of time. It's told through Noah's point of view when the twins are 13, and then it's told through Jude's point of view when they're 16. And the whole thing is that the twins used to be really close, and now at 16 years old they hardly speak, and there's been a lot of things wrong with their relationship, and we're kind of trying to figure out what it is that's wrong and trying to see how they're going to fix it, basically. So this does have a lot of really good reviews, and so does The Sky Is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. I read The Sky Is Everywhere a good few years ago. I think I might have been about 16 or 15 or 16 maybe when I read it, and like I liked it, but it wasn't like the best thing I'd ever read, the way a lot of people kind of rave about it. So I was a little bit nervous about going into this one because, as I've said, I just don't think Jandy Nelson's writing is particularly my cup of tea. And I did find it with this book as well. The writing is very flowery. Some of it is almost too flowery and too like descriptive, particularly with Noah's points of view. So I think it might have benefited just from a little bit less of the flowery language. It's just got a little bit too much for me now and again, but overall I did quite enjoy it. Noah and Jude's relationship I thought was very contradictory to what we were kind of being told. We were kind of supposed to have this idea that they used to be really close, and now at 16 they hardly talk, and I didn't find them to be particularly close when they were 13 either, and I actually didn't really like Noah that much. I quite liked Jude, but I didn't really like Noah. I felt like he just wasn't that nice of a character. He kind of hated on everyone around him, even his mother and his sister and his dad, and I don't know, he kind of kept being like, he was kind of trying, like, I felt like the story was trying to portray him as this kind of confused little boy who was confused by his sexuality, and, you know, was just, you know, someone that we should pity and that we should like, and I just didn't feel like that at all. I just felt a lot closer to Jude in that sense. I just really kind of got her point of view much more than Noah's point of view. So that was that kind of, I guess. But yeah, it was good for like what it was. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it, and I gave it a 3.5/4 stars. I also finished an audiobook this week that I had been reading over the last few weeks, and that is A Mutiny in Time, which is the first book in the Affinity Ring series by James Dashner. This is a middle grade book about a alternate America where it has kind of, the history is completely different because something happened with the voyage of Christopher Columbus, and basically he never like discovered America and it was someone else. And the America is now controlled by something called the SQ, and these two kids, Dax and Sarah, have to basically, they find this infinity ring thing in Dax's parents' laboratory, and they end up going back in time, and they have to try and solve all these different things in time to try and basically fix history and trying to make the world better in the future. So it's kind of their first adventure where they go to the voyage of Christopher Columbus, and they're trying to stop something from happening so kind of history can go on from normal the way we know it. This was good. I kind of lost my interest in it in the last half of it, I think, or the last quarter of it. I just didn't care as much, and the characters just annoyed me a little bit. The narrator was okay, he wasn't brilliant, but I think it was because he was very American, and for me, as someone who obviously is Irish, I actually find, in terms of narrators, I find either Irish narrators or British narrators a little bit easier for me on the ear just to listen to, because I'm more used to that kind of accents, I guess. So when someone who's really American is a narrator, I find it quite difficult sometimes to listen to, but he did do a good job, and there's now and again where he did a really good job of making Dax out to be like a real geek or a real nerd, which he was, and he did kind of come across this kind of geeky, nerdy kid who was just really into history and really into science, and you know, that came across really well. But now and again, just the way some things were said or the way the enthusiasm came across, it was a bit too much for me at times. But I did like this in the end, and I think I will continue with the series eventually if I come across it in the library or anything. I'm not sure if I'll read them all on audiobook, but I definitely like to read them in physical form as well, because overall I did quite enjoy it, so I gave it a 2.5/3 stars. The next book I finished was The Kingdom of Little Wounds by Susann Cokal. This is kind of a fantastical historical story set in kind of like a land in Scandinavia, but I'm not sure if it's like a country that's kind of been made up, called Skygahauan, and it's basically about this king and queen whose children are all very, very sick. They all kind of have this disease that's kind of killing them all, and no one can figure out what exactly it is. And the king is quite sick, the queen is a little bit sick, the queen is a little bit mad, and it's told through three kind of different points of view. You have some of the queen's points of view, you have the point of view of Ava, who is a servant girl. She used to be a seamstress for the queen, and then she kind of got demoted into being a nursery maid. And then there is a slave girl called Midi. And I thought this was really, really good. Like, not a whole lot happened in it. Like, it wasn't really, really, like, from the get-go action-packed and exciting. But I felt like the story was told really, really well. The chapters were quite short, but they're very descriptive. So it was very easy to kind of fly through the book. This book is like 500 pages. So it took me a little bit longer than it normally would for me to read a book. But I did really, I was enjoying every single page of this book. I did really, really enjoy it, and it has this kind of feel like grim fairy tale feel to it. Like, in the back of the book, the author's kind of describing that when people asked what she was writing about, it took her 7 years to write this book because she did a lot of research into Scandinavia and the Scandinavian royals and stuff like that, and obviously diseases and things like that for all the diseases and the symptoms and the cures and stuff that are in this book. But she said that when people asked her what she was writing about, she used to say a fairy tale about syphilis. And that's a really good way of actually describing this. It's this grim, dark, kind of fairy tale-esque story about people basically suffering from the pox and suffering from the Italian fire is what they call it. And basically everyone else being scared. There's a guy in this who has actually sewn jewels and gems and stuff into his penis because he feels that it is a cure against him getting a disease. So he basically just has like this whole little treasure chest in his actual like penis, and it's just insane. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I just felt like I really loved each character's story. There wasn't any character that I liked over the other. They were all really equal for me, each of their stories. And I could kind of see at some points where it was going, but yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it, and if anyone is looking for that kind of darker kind of story to read, I would definitely recommend this one. And then the next book I finished is Too Many Ponies by Sheena Wilkinson. I read Grounded a couple of weeks ago by Sheena Wilkinson, and that was the second book in the Declan Kelly series, the first being Taking Flight, and that was kind of a YA story set in Belfast and all about this guy who goes and discovers a love of horses and a talent with horses. And this is kind of like a children's / middle grade spin-off to that series, and it's actually set 11 years on from that, and it's actually centred around Declan when he's a little bit older and his son. And I actually thought that was really great, and it's basically where they are kind of running a sanctuary for rescue and abused horses, and there is the neighbour who keeps her horse in their stables just because she's next door, and there's this cross-country kind of tournament happening where the winning team can win £5,000, and they want to go into it because obviously they are running a sanctuary and they don't have a lot of money, so they want to win this so they can obviously get money to kind of help the horses that they have in their stables. And then there's also a lot of this with Aidan, who's the son of Declan, and he just started secondary school and he's been bullied a little bit, and then he's also kind of spooked himself out of jumping with the horses. He really loves horses, he has talent for horses, but he's kind of lost his, I guess, he has gained a fear of jumping, and he needs to try and get it back, obviously, because people are pressuring him into joining this team to do the cross country. So I really enjoyed this. I thought it was very good. It was really quick. It was only like 150 pages, so I read it within an hour, I think, or a couple of hours. I thought the girl Lucy, who was the neighbour, who was like really into this cross country idea, was a bit annoying. She was very much a busybody, and she was this kind of kid that, you know, someone would tell her something, she wouldn't listen to them, she'd go and do it anyway, and then something bad would happen, and then she wouldn't own up to what she had done. So she kind of did that a few times, and it's just kind of like, oh my god, just like start listening to other people. So that was a little bit annoying, but overall I did enjoy it. I loved coming back and just kind of seeing the different things, seeing different characters that I knew from the first 2 books in the Declan Kelly series, and just seeing where their lives had gone and how they were, and I just really enjoyed that, so that was really nice. So I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. And then at the moment I'm about 150 pages into the Tidal Zone by Sarah Moss, so I haven't quite finished this. I'm going to try and get a good bit read tonight, but I probably won't finish it today. It'll probably be tomorrow at some point that I finish it. But yeah, I am really enjoying this so far. It's just as good as everyone was saying it was. It's kind of different. I don't read a whole lot of literary fiction, so it's nice to kind of come back from kind of the fantastical stories that I tend to read and just kind of read something very real and very, I don't know, just something that really makes you think, I guess. So yeah, I am enjoying it. So that is everything that I've read this week. If you haven't entered the giveaway for The Last Horseman, please go back to my last weekly wrap up and comment on that if you want to be entered in the giveaway if you missed that. And please let me know what you guys are reading, how your week has gone, and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys again next time.